Yes, Satya.
Dear all, very good evening. I, Satya Narayan Rath, Deputy Director at Indo-American Chamber of Commerce, wishing you, all of you, a very warm good evening and thanks for joining us today at the webinar on textiles, Indo-US bilateral partnership, new opportunities, innovative products, and B2B. The Textile Forum has been working continuously and striving hard to draw and highlight better opportunities between India and America. I would like to invite Mr. Pankaj Vora, Regional President IACC, WIC, to deliver opening remarks. Before that, a brief introduction about Mr. Vora. Mr. Pankaj Vora is a CA by profession and has 35 years of experience. He is currently senior member at Pankaj Vora and Co, headquartered at Ahmedabad. Mr. Vora did his article training from SR Batley Boy and has been associated with some of the big four consulting companies like E&Y. He is on board of several companies and assists senior management on business strategies, financial planning. First, he has been the chairman of IACC Gujarat branch and has been associated with IACC for quite a long period of time, for 12 years. I request Mr. Vora and to deliver his opening remarks.
Thank you, Satya. Thank you so much. Hi, everyone. Good evening to all our members and guests who have joined us from India. And good morning to all our participants who have logged in from Europe and North America. I am Pankaj Vora, the Regional Vice President of West India Council of Indo-American Chamber of Commerce. First of all, on behalf of IACC, I welcome you all to this very important and insightful 3-day webinar on Indo-US bilateral partnership in textile sector. As you are aware, Indo-American Chamber of Commerce is an apex bilateral chamber promoting trade, commerce, and investments between India and USA. Our primary activities to engage with the federal and provincial governments of India and USA for the policy advocacy for our members. But we have also been providing many other services to our members, and one of them is to keep them updated on the industry as to what is happening in the industry. In continuation of that effort, today, IACC has organized this webinar. This is an exploratory webinar just to understand what are the new opportunities in textile sector, what are the innovative products, and what are the possibilities of having B2B meetings, and to form a long-term strategy as to how India and US can grow their bilateral trade and investment in the textile sector. Indian textile sector is an oldest industry of Indian economy. It produces hand-spun and hand-woven textile on one hand, and also finest fabrics from the sophisticated mills. In the recent past, it has made great strides. Today, textile sector is contributing around 5% to the GDP of India. It is the largest employment generator sector after the agriculture and contributes around 12% to the exports of total exports of India. If we talk about market size of the Indian textile industry, it is $108 billion. It is expected that by 2025-26, the total market will grow up to $190 billion. The present drivers of growth of textile industry are abundance of raw material in India, presence of value chain, competitive cost, availability of skilled manpower, growing domestic market, and increasing organized retail and e-commerce activities. Government of India is also helping this sector a lot. They have taken many initiatives to support this sector, and one of them is they have allowed 100% FDI by automatic route. Production link incentive has been announced for man-made fiber and technical textile units. Government of India has set up National Textile Mission to strengthen the technical textile vertical. Government of India has announced National Textile Policy in 2021 to position India as a fully integrated, globally competitive manufacturing and export hub. And recently, during the pandemic, it has supported the sector in production of PPE kits. When we talk about Indo-US bilateral trade in textile sector, we know India is facing fierce competition from China and Vietnam, Cambodia, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh and Myanmar. Vietnam is the beneficiary of US-Vietnam bilateral trade agreement. Cambodia, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka and Myanmar are beneficiaries of GSP facility. I would like to inform all the members that Indo-American Chamber of Commerce is closely working with Government of India and the Embassy of United States along with the US consulates to make sure that we reach a trade agreement as early as possible and GSP is also restored as early as possible. Of late, fast changing fashion market and changed geopolitical situation has created a new situation for Indian textile sector that is full of opportunities to flourish further. In the first 5 months of 2021, India's export to US, that is US imports from India, has grown by 3%. As against China's share in the US import is marginally down. What are the opportunities in these sectors? What are the emerging trends? What are new innovations? What are new technological developments? Our members are very curious to know from all the speakers today, and I'm happy to share that we have a galaxy of speakers led by legendary industry leaders like Mr. Suresh Kotak, Mr. R.D. Udesi, and many industry stalwarts who have profound experience in textile sector, who are going to tell us what are the endless opportunity in this sector and how members of IACC and entrepreneurs in textile sector can tap those opportunities. I would also like to thank our associate partner and sponsors for supporting the program. And I have a request to our participants. If they have any question, they can post their question on Q&A box or chat box. Our moderator will pick up those questions and will try to answer all your questions during the Q&A session of each panel discussion. Now, without much ado, I would like to invite Mr. Suresh Kotak, who is going to deliver thematic remark on today's program. But before that, a brief introduction of Mr. Suresh Kotak. Mr. Suresh Kotak is a very respected and well-known name in the Indian industry. He has been associated with cotton trade for decades. His dedication to cotton has earned him a recognition as Cotton Man of India. Mr. Kotak has been very aspirational about Indian textile industry. He firmly believes India can become a major supplier to the global textile industry. Mr. Kotak has been connected with Indo-American Chamber of Commerce for many years and is supporting its activities in many ways. Mr. Kotak has been pioneer in setting up IACC Textile Forum, and presently he is the chief mentor of the IACC Textile Forum. He has a strong belief that with sustained efforts, Indo-US textile collaboration can achieve $100 billion bilateral trade and investments. Besides textile industry, Mr. Kotak is also associated with many trade associations, chambers of commerce, and business institutions. He has headed all these institutions and provided guidance how the members of these associations can be benefited. He has also been trustee of Mumbai Port Trust. Presently, he is president of Rajkot Kelwani Mandal, which runs 20 schools and colleges. Mr. Kotak has been an astute Rotarian also. He does have another passion, that is creating a conflict resolution culture where litigation is replaced by the arbitration. So I'm happy that Mr. Kotak is with us today, and now I request him to make his thematic address on the subject of today's webinar. It's over to you, Mr. Kotak.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Pankaj Bhai. I must say that today is a day of great reckoning to me because we are taking strides. So first, let me have a good evening in India and good morning in USA because we are bilateral. So I thought that I must start with the bilateral addressing. IACC President Ms. Purnachandra Rao, WIC President Pankaj Bhai Vora, Textile Forum Chairman Harit Mehta, Forum Advisor Sharad Tandon, and our guest, well-known, renowned Udeshi, a keynote speaker. I also appreciate our sponsors, our associate friends, sponsors, the Wellspun, the Indocount, Colorant and Satlaj. All friends and the media, all I am glad to welcome to this forum's deliberation. Our meet today, friends, is to invoke and ingest synergies. The Indo-bilateral partnership needs synergies, and we have to take strides to stimulate collaborative textile partnerships bilaterally. IACC Textile Forum shall provide and is working and will be starting an express highway and platform, firstly to explore bilaterally scope and opportunities which abound in multi-dimensional textile industry. We have to recognize that textile is a multi-dimensional industry and multi-dimensional sector. We also, secondly, encourage B2B businesses and needful investment two ways. The third Textile Forum's aim is to co-create new innovative textile products, co-create, as well as facilitate contract manufacturing, value processing, co-branding, and propose to complement and supplement both the economics in nice way. The premises of Textile Forum has been, since very inception, the forum has been striving to create a ground level bilateral connectivities with a formula and with a concept known as prosumer. Now the prosumer concept has been given by Edwin Toffler for the international trade, that but it also applies to domestic trade, that every business entity is both way involved as on one hand as a producer and on the other hand as a consumer, and therefore opportunities lie in essentially collaborative prosumer type, that is prosumer and a consumer who see each other's needs and work in a cooperative manner, and this is the theme with which we have formed that there's a bilateral friendship and partnership should work with a three-pronged strategy that we are trying to work out. Friends, I am very thankful that our president, WSA president, has stressed a need to have a focused sector working in all the sectors. And he has said that a textile being a major sector, you must start with that. And this particular thing has started. I am personally also thankful to our mentor, Nanik Rupani, who got me into IACC working, and Textile Forum started. Friends, as a matter of fact, we have to work out in so many manners so that our textile bilateral trade expands. Now, let me tell you, apart from the approach, this webinar theme, as you know, new opportunities, innovative products, as well as B2B. These are the three ways, and let us see how our approach, the holistic approach towards totality in textiles, can work out. For us to realize that textile industry has a very long spectrum and which can unfold unlimited opportunities to everybody, we have still not included two subjects in our working, and that we will cover later on by separate seminars: silk as well as handloom and handicraft textiles, where India has also a great power and America is also a buyer. Today we have visionary with us, a visionary Mr. Udeshi, and his knowledge and popularity is very well known, and we are very glad to welcome Mr. Udeshi. I have also deliberated on the prospective and introspective aspect of our this present webinar. The introspective aspect is that we have created 11 sessions with an easy flow. We have started with the traditional textiles with supply chain management, from fabric onwards to all the kinds of the present businesses which are running. And then on the second day as a flow, we have gone for innovative products and innovative new areas which has been added as a textile dimension. So this is the second dimension we have added on the second day. And on the third day, we have gone for various kinds of other cooperative approaches, even partnerships with 3 US states. We have 3 partnerships now which are live partnerships, and we are trying to work out other partnerships with other states of America. 3 live partnerships are with North Carolina, South Carolina, as well as Georgia. Now South Carolina, you will see from the presentation how wonderful opportunities can lie in that place. So we have to work out on this part also. Friends, we have a team who has put this program into this particular mode, and this mode is a very impressive mode of keeping a flow together. 3 pillars of this modulation of this program and formulation of this infrastructure is: one is the President Harit Bhai Mehta. Second is he is a techno-savvy, very knowledgeable person, and he is also motivational, also by telling everybody that each effort has a result, each action has a result. So he motivates people also. Our very insightful advisor, Mr. Tandon, also has done all the nitty-gritty work of this program and tried to join various aspects of the program in a very nice way. Third is our Satya Rath, and Satya Rath is naturally, he has gone on relentlessly like a Rath. Rath is a word which means a chariot. So he has worked like a chariot and have worked day and night to put the whole program together in a very, very nice, very structured and very coordinated way, answering day and night. We had also a great team led by Raki with Vishnu, Latish to attend to all the technological needs, Sagar, Kamal Bhai, as well as the Vice President of WIC has also indirectly taken interest. And with all this, I am very, very thankful and very, very happy that everything has gone on stream so well. Now, the third thing which I would like to say, that we have still to go a long way and we have to still create many things. As our President very rightly said, India is the emerging nation and we have to also see that what we can do with this favorable position. Friends, the environment and the geopolitical situation is very conducive. Other countries need a responsible, receptive alternate supplier and they don't want stranglehold of one supplier, and that is where India comes in. India, US is a vast market, a huge bilateral development is possible, and we friends, we need to synergize, we need to energize the process, and friends, I need to say thanks to all of us, all of you and all the team. Today's action, friends, is the destiny of tomorrow. Let us take the action. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Kotak sir, for your enlightening address, and your perspective has really added value to the entire program setup today. And we understand that your methodology and idea of taking two countries together and creating an inclusive development in textiles adds a lot of value for both the countries. Now it is my pleasure that to invite Mr. Harit Mehta, Chairman of IACC Textile Forum, to deliver introductory remarks. But before that, I would like to do a small and brief introduction of Mr. Harit Mehta. Mr. Mehta holds 33 years of experience in running synthetic textile business. He is currently the chairman and director of Harent Textiles Private Limited, and he also heads the international sales. He is a Generation 3 entrepreneur, and he was the instrumental for his company to achieve the top most admired companies in textiles. He has studied BSc and MBA in strategic planning from California State University. He is an avid golfer and enjoys dealing on subjects related to sustainability manufacturing. Mr. Mehta, over to you, and we look forward to hearing from you.
Thank you, sir. Good morning to our American textile family and namaste to our Indian textile family and the very special speakers we have today, tomorrow, and day after. Thank you for being here. Thank you for the US-India collaborative bilateral trade in textiles that benefits both countries. Thank you, Mr. Kotak, Mr. Bora, and the superb team at the IACC Indo-American Chamber of Commerce for making this possible. Today, we miss Mr. Sinha, who passed away due to COVID. The IACC Textile Forum is here to assist you from India and you from the US to identify, facilitate, and do all that it takes to ensure that we all work to make the IACC mandate and Mr. Kotak's $100 billion bilateral textile trade between the US and India. Each one of you today talks about an industry that we hold very dear to our hearts. Gathered here are speakers who will do no salesmanship for his or her company. We are here to explore on what specifically US and India, each member of the supply chain, yarns, fabrics, dyes, and chemicals, machinery, garmenting, and made-ups, consultants need to do to go about making a hub for manufacturing and contract manufacturing everything that the US needs. Excellent fabrics, technically made, expertly executed. So let's get started. But first, here's my take. Since we are all bored to death at work in conference rooms and Zoom meetings with PowerPoints, the IAC has requested each speaker to speak to you instead. Each speaker will give actionable advice on how India can rise to meet the US textile needs. For those who want to invest in the US, we have experts who can help you. For those who want to buy from India, we have experts to help you too. To our American family, I convey that India is fortunate to be a country that has everything from oil to yarn to fabric and finished product forming. And best of all, the team members in each textile supply chain company, small and large, owners, managers, workmen, enjoy textiles as a source of revenue and a source of service. We ideate today for the good of the industry and for the good of both nations as a whole. The Indian textile supply chain and its people are ready, willing, able, and energized. Each is dedicated to meet the US needs and the world's as they move away from perhaps the dragon and come seeking for diversifying its own sourcing. The chain realizes that it becomes each person's responsibility to make sure this happens seamlessly for you, the buyer. They keep in mind that each dollar earned, India wins and US wins. Every effort counts and every effort wins. Two democratic nations, India and the US, have three crucial things in common: a common language, the rule of law, compliance, intellectual property, and the speed of doing business. Above all, ethical transparency. As a nation, India has the capabilities of using what we know, acquiring what we don't, and knowing the difference between them to meet your needs. Please visit us at the IACC Textile Forum and sign up your company at the free IACC Textile Database. It helps you to be matched to the Indians and the US needs, and it's free. Thank you, our partners, Satlat Industries, Wellspun, Colorant, and Indocount, and our media partners, the Yarn Bazaar, Textile Excellence, Textile Mirror, Textile Value Change, and the PhD Chamber of Commerce. We are live on YouTube and live on Zoom. Have a question? Write to us at the Textile Forum at iaccindia.com and the Zoom chat. The panelists here will be asked to respond. And in case they run out of time, don't worry, we will email you the answer. Thank you once again. So let's get started. May I please request Mr. Satya to introduce Mr. Rao, who joins us from the United States. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mehta. Thank you for your remarks, for your introductory remarks. I request Mr. Purnachandra Rao and to deliver special address at the webinar on textiles and a brief introduction about Mr. Rao. Mr. Rao has 28 years of experience in software development and designing of software. He is currently serving as the MD of Global Infovision Private Limited, headquartered at Hyderabad. He has an extensive experience in all aspects of software development lifecycle and has assignments working on military and FEMA projects. He has obtained double degree MSc in engineering, mechanical engineering, as well as computer science from the University of Tennessee from USA. Mr. Rao, over to you, and we look forward to hearing from you.
Thanks, Satya. Good evening to all members and expert panelists. First of all, I apologize for my video background, and currently this is not the way we do things at IACC, but currently I'm traveling in the United States and I logged in from my room. That's why it's not up to the mark. And I'm delighted to be present here and today and deliver special address at this webinar on textiles. First of all, let me congratulate Mr. Suresh Kotak, Advisor, Textile Forum, Mr. Pankaj Bora, our Regional President, WIC, Mr. Harith Mehta, Chairman, Textile Forum, Mr. Sharad Tandon, Advisor, Textile Forum, for curating such an important and knowledgeable webinar on textiles. As we already heard from Mr. Suresh Kotak ji, that he eloquently explained the importance of bilateral trade in textiles. And with more than 52 years of existence, IACC has networked extensively with both the governments, including corporates, to boost trade and create entrepreneurial opportunities through B2B linkages, trade delegations, and focused seminars and conferences. Actually, after President Joseph Biden announced for the first time in 2013, when he visited Mumbai as the Vice President of the United States, IACC has been exploring all avenues to create visibility for the objective of achieving USD 500 billion trade between the two nations. IACC has organized numerous events where experts have brainstormed on the ways and means to achieve this common goal. To give you an example, we are hosting the annual Indo-Us Economic Summit now in 17th year on September 14th. Another example is the Textile Forum, which has set the theme of $100 billion for bilateral trade in textiles. The Textile Forum has been trying to enhance Indo-Us trade by creating more cross-border trade opportunities, as well as seeking deeper insights on many aspects of textiles imperative for an economic growth between both the nations. For both India and the US, textiles form an integral part of their economy and a growth driver. The US has a strong textile economy, and it ranks as the third largest cotton producer in the world after China and India. Its superior textile technology, high-end innovation trail of textile products of all hues and quality, from ordinary wear to highly value-added stands, are well known. India at the same time has inherent advantages in textile sector, supported by its strong raw material-based manufacturing systems, which are continuously getting modernized and automated. India has the strength to move the value chain in terms of design, customization, and in absorbing FDI in the sector. The textile sector has witnessed a spurt in investment during the last 5 years. The industry, including dyed and printed, attracted foreign direct investment worth US $3.75 billion from April 2000 to March 2021. India is working on major initiatives to boost its technical textile industry. Owing to the pandemic, the demand for technical textiles in the form of PPE, suits, and equipment is on rise. Government is supporting the sector through funding and machinery sponsoring. I think India can be an extremely beneficial partner to the United States in exploring technical textiles in a large scale. Even when I go to shops here, many products come from our region, especially India and Bangladesh. I am happy to note that a few days back, the Textile Minister Piyush Goyal has signed the proposal for the production-linked incentive scheme for the textile sector. Reportedly, the scheme, expected to offer incentives of around 11,000 crores, is aimed at reviving the labor-intensive textile sector and boost Indian textile manufacturing and exports. I'm sure the expert speakers would discuss this in greater details during the business sessions. Top players in the sector are attaining sustainability in their products by manufacturing textiles that use natural recyclable materials. The future for the Indian textile industry looks promising, buoyed by strong domestic consumption as well as export demand. With consumerism and disposable income on the rise, the retail sector has experienced a rapid growth in the past decade with the entry of several international players like Marks and Spencer, Guess, and Next into the Indian market. The US-China trade war has created a lot of opportunities for India. India needs to make itself competitive in the global market with the help of smart factories creating manufacturing excellence. Indian textile companies usually face higher trade tariffs as compared with Bangladesh, Vietnam, and Pakistan. Hence, India must form a trade agreement with the major apparel importers, including the US. Both the countries have immense potential in taking textile trade to the next level. It has been really a fruitful day and I enjoyed being part of the deliberation. I would like to express sincere appreciation to the members of the Textile Forum, the expert speakers on various panels. I would also like to thank our IACC Secretariat, especially Satya Rath, Rakesh Shikha, and Vishnu Latish, and also, of course, our Secretary General Kamal Vora for their hard work on this theme. Thank you all. I appreciate you all participating in today. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rao, for your generous remarks and for delivering special address. And just to bring it to your knowledge that probably the sectors which you have addressed in your talking points on technical textiles and all those things, it has been very well planned by the Textile Forum. We are going to deal with all these topics very elaborate manner on day 2, that is next day, tomorrow onwards, on textiles and technical textiles and home textiles. So many thanks for your presence and thank you for addressing us. Now, I would request, before we have a chief guest today, we have Sri Adi Udeshi with us, the President Polyester Chain Reliance Industries Limited, to deliver a keynote address. But before that, I would request Mr. Suresh Kotak to kindly do a brief introduction about Sri Adi Udeshi before he delivers his keynote address. Sir, over to you.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you, Satya. Jeet, now put me. It's a great pleasure to introduce R.D. Udeshi, a good friend of mine, and I am reminded that from the very inception of Forum, our late Arvind Sinha, myself, and R.D. Udeshi always spent time together, and we remember all our conversations, and our Harit Bhai paid homage to our friend Arvind Sinha also. So from those days onwards, I realized the depth of knowledge of R.D. Udeshi. He is the President Polyester Chain of Reliance Industries Limited. His name is very suggestive. His name is suggestive. RD. RD is Research and Development. And Udeshi means Udeshya. Udeshya is a Sanskrit word. That means a man who purposes and achieves. So a man is achiever. There is no doubt. And he is the one who in the global polyester landscape has an intricate understanding of global and Indian textiles and polyester industry. He started his journey with Reliance since 1984 and transformed Reliance polyester from humble 10,000 metric tons a year in 1982 a phenomenal, astronomical 3.5 million metric tons a year with a clear focus on value addition. He was also instrumental in creating the largest integrated polyester chain globally with a base of 14 million metric ton of PX, PTA, PEG, MEG and other aromatic derivatives and polyester. Though a cost accountant by academic qualification, he acquired his knowledge and developed. Having started his career in Reliance's earliest businesses, filament yarn followed by polyester fiber, and subsequently heading entire polyester business. Eventually, he took the leadership role in fiber intermediates and aromatics division, thus heading this entire polyester chain sector. He is also instrumental in creating polyester chain polyester in Malaysia, which I have visited, by acquiring large integrated polyester and textile business of Yulon, a Korean industry, presently named as Recron Malaysia, and the PTA unit of British Petroleum. Sri Udeshi remains he is a very humble man, very mixable and inspiring leader, and is widely recognized as one of the best speakers of the industry. Here, the floor is open for Mr. Udeshi. Udeshi ji, आओ please.
Thank you, Rai, for introduction. I'm a small man, grown in Reliance and grown with Reliance and doing my best. I always believe that I have been in this industry for more than 36 years, 35 years working in Reliance. So I think it is my duty to contribute something to textile industry, something for India. So I think that is my mission, because after some time, you reach to a state where you want to grow for the company, for the nation, and for the globe. So I think that has been my mission, and I have been doing my best to do that. I think all of us, we know that Indian textile industry today is in the range of $140 billion, roughly, and comprising of, say, $100 billion in domestic, $40 billion in exports. But sometimes I tell my colleagues, I tell my people, and tell the industry that we should be ashamed that we are still not a powerful nation in a textile industry. A small country like Vietnam, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, who are working hard, and like Vietnam could reach to an export level of textile somewhere around $36 billion, and we are still struggling to cross $40 billion. So I think we as an industry need to buck up and become more global thinking. One, on cost competitiveness. Two, on innovation. Three, on designing. Four, create a confidence in a global world. Because if somebody wants to buy a product, he should have enough confidence that product will be supplied on time, as per the sample given, and as per the quality prescribed. I think these are some of the areas where we need to work hard and achieve our goal. I think we in India, I must tell you, because I have seen the industry growing. We are fortunate. We have ample cotton available, approximately 6 million tons of cotton, second highest in global area. We have a large refining capacity in India, good enough to produce all petroleum product and good enough to provide raw material for petrochemical. I was telling Suresh the other day, or maybe in one of the conference, that the time has come with electrical vehicles coming. Today, the ratio between the petroleum and the petrochemical allocation from the refining is 80-20. The time would come that most of the refiners will have to move away from this ratio, and sooner or later, we will be somewhere at 30-70 ratio, 30% for petroleum and 70% for petrochemical. So this is the area where we need to think about it, because with the EV coming into the global stage, I think less and less petroleum product will be utilized. So this is the area where we need to think about it. We in India are fortunate that we have refining, we have xylene, we have paraxylene, we have PTA, we have monoethylene glycol, we have polyester, PET, PSF, filament, and large weaving capacity, large processing capacity, spinning capacity, and garmenting industry. So we are fortunate. We have everything in India. I think what we need is a commitment. What we need is foresight. We need to think how to Because if you go on producing fabric, which is stationary type, where there are no innovation, where there are no cost competitiveness, you cannot survive in the global arena. So I think this is the area where we need to see. India is fortunate. I think we have, compared to China, we have large capacity on paraxylene to produce enough PTA. We have large capacity of PTA to produce enough polyester. We have enough MEG. Today, China still struggle to get the paraxylene imported. China still struggle to import MEG from Middle East. But we in India are fortunate that we have all the capacity in the present juncture.
Hello.
Yeah, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Please go ahead.
Yes, sir, we can hear you. We can hear you.
Sorry, there was some disturbance. So I think we are lucky to do that. And the Prime Minister has given the vision that industry has to grow from $140 billion to say $350 billion, comprising of maybe $250 billion of domestic and $100 billion of exports. So this is the vision what we need to have. We in India need to look a large capacity expansion. We need to have large loomage under one roof, large processing facility, and innovative processing facility. So this is the area where we need to work. I think before we look into what we can do with US, we must understand where we stand today. I collected some statistics from our internal system. So normally US imports around $90 billion of textile every year. In January, June 2021, the statistics I have collected, US has imported roughly $50 billion of textile, and it is likely to have another $12 to $15 billion in the coming few months. So total $101 billion of textile is likely to be imported by US. So we should keep this background in mind. What are the potential for US to import textile from the global world? Unfortunately, India's share is still very limited. The China, they used to export. The figures I have available is roughly $36 billion of textile, whether it is a ready-made garment or fabric, etc., to US, which almost works out to almost 33% of the import coming into US. However, gradually the Chinese share is declining, and that is the opportunity I look for, where Indian manufacturers need to step in and look for larger export. I think India needs to improve its processing facility. I also observe that India exports almost 60-65% of the textile in cotton, whereas only 30 to 35% goes into synthetic side. So I think here we as an industry need to change this ratio. Cotton can continue exporting what they are, but synthetic industry, especially polyester side, need to step in, make a fashion garment, make a specialty fabric, and export product to China. So this is an opportunity I think we need to see. Then I can tell you one thing. I think Indian textile industry is very innovative. We have proven in last 2 years, pandemic, India used to import large quantity of PPE suits required to meet the requirement for the local people. However, within 15 to 20 days, India started producing 400,000 PPE suits on a daily basis. India is now an exporter of PPE suits rather than importer of PPE suits. Idea is, it calls for agility of the industry, where you switch over your production from X type of garment to PPE suits. And that was the need of the hour. The request came from Textile Ministry. Mr. Udeshi, we want all your existing ready-made garment manufacturing to be converted to PPE suits. And we did it. And within 15 days, got the approval done with whatever the inspection agencies are there. And we started supplying almost 100,000 PPE suits on a daily basis to meet the requirements. So that is the agility what you need for the industry, which is available today. The another area which was very interesting, because I was a party to all this, so I still remember and I get motivated when I think all this. Sorry, you said something? No. So we needed a testing swab. India used to import swab and Chinese system used to export this swab to India at the rate of 18 rupees a swab. And challenge was given to us that we must produce swab in India. We don't want to depend on Chinese, where they used to dictate the term that we will supply at this and the quality was uncertain, etc., etc. So here, industry, especially Johnson & Johnson, where I give a credit to them, and ourselves, we work together, and commercial production of swab was done in the course of 10 days from the zero date. So I think this is the capability of the Indian industry, which I wanted to describe to you. The other thing which we need to do is, I think Vietnam share is expected to remain stable at almost 15%. Vietnam exported $14 billion of textile in 19 and 20, and they are growing almost at the 10% rate. So I think we need to be a little agile to see that we also capture the space left by Chinese, and we should take that space. I think India also needs, the consumption pattern needs to change. I think cotton, which is 30%, which I told you, man-made fiber exports, the fabric and the garmenting is, we need to change this to 70-30, where cotton can continue to export, and we increase the share of man-made textile, man-made ready-made garments. I think China and the space left by China, I think we need to gallop ourselves and increase the export, because if we need to export $150 billion on a yearly basis, there are very few countries which has a capability to take that kind of a quantity. So we should look for that as one of the exploration. The other area is technical textile, where India's share is only 10% of the total production. And this is the area where we need to work hard to achieve the required production and the growth. India's strength, I think we just heard, the largest producer of cotton, second largest producer of polyester, viscose, and number of looms what we have, number of spinning what we have. I think we have an opportunity for us. I think a lot of, if you go to Surat, the people are innovative. I tell people that in our Gujarati we say, "Patthar mein se pani nikalne wale log hai." So they are capable of supplying product which are really quality product and innovative product. I think these are the areas where we need to concentrate and make our presence felt globally. We are fortunate. Government has been supporting us in various ways. We are now fortunate. Commerce Minister and a Textile Minister is the same. So there are no conflict of any policy or advocacy. So this will help. We also have few schemes which have been announced by the government. I think that is also going to help us. Government has allowed 100% FDI under the automatic route. So I think you can have investment in India for any product, and especially on a textile side. National Technical Textile Mission is proposed for a period 21 to 24 with outlay of almost 1,450 crores or 1,480 crores, which is almost like $211 million. So we need to be little proactive, and from our industry point of view, we need to capture the opportunity. The new textile policy in the draft stage. So once it is finalized, I think we will see much better things to come. I think scope for US partnership. I think US is also looking for alternative source, and especially with a geopolitical issue, India could become a preferred partner for US. Both have set the ambitious target for achieving certain export of textile and garmenting, and we need to work on that. US-India Business Council has recommended that Biden administration to merge the US achieving the required target, and I wish all my colleagues in India work hard, work with certain innovative mind, work with cost competitiveness, and be punctual in delivery. We will achieve our target. Thank you, Suresh Bhai. Thank you, all my colleagues who are on the screen. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Udeshi, for your wise words. Your great contribution to Reliance's success story is legendary, and each person in our nation is touched by a fabric that has some yarn connection with Reliance. And now it goes to our brains through our years with Geo is another story. Thank you, sir, for your continued association with IACC. So let's get started with panel 1, Fabric Business with the US. Our moderator for this important panel is Mr. Prem Malik, Vice Chairman, NSL Limited, with more than 40 years of experience. Mr. Malik, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Good evening to everyone, and good morning to all the visitors from abroad. We have a limited topic, which is basically fabric business with US. If we look at basically the world import of textile and clothing for the year 2020, which was 744 billion, with a US share of 112 billion. But being the 2020 being a very difficult year because of the pandemic, I have based my analysis on 2019 data. It clearly shows that the world trade was 700 billion US dollars, with US taking a share of 115 billion, accounting for 16.42%. Which was basically comprising of fabric clothing, which was 73.5%, with a share, and made up, followed by made up, with a share of 17.18%, fabric at 7.29%, and yarn and fibers at about 2%. India's share in the US market was only 7.33%, valued at 8.43 billion. While looking at the big breakup of US, 8.43 billion, export from India, apparel was 48.47%, while made up was comprising of 42.21%, the fabrics at 7.58%, and the yarn at 1.3%. So if we look at the product groups which import, is that in fabric, India still is, though the fourth largest supplier of woven fabric, but the gap between the one and the fourth is quite big. Similarly, in the knitted fabrics, we are the third largest supplier of knitted fabrics. But fabrics import into the US, as I said, was 8.399 billion, while the import from India was valued at only 640 million, which was 7.6% of the market share. This clearly indicates that there is a huge scope for increasing share of India in supply of fabrics to US. While we're looking at the fabrics import from all sources, the major items that the US imports are into non-wovens, coated fabrics, and other value-added fabrics, whereas India is not presently in a significant position. So we have to really focus on what the market needs, what our competing countries are supplying, and what is imported from India. Basically, most of the things have already been said by honorable speakers. I will, because ours is a panel, and I will like to, I have two other panel members with me, Mr. Nikunj and Dr. Rai, and we will start with basically discussing on various aspects of the how to grow the fabric business where there's a tremendous scope. I will first ask both Dr. Rai and Mr. Nikunj to introduce themselves in 60 minutes each, and then we carry on with the other agenda. May I request Dr. Rai, please?
Thanks, Mr. Malik. I am Roy, a PhD in textiles from the University of Manchester. Almost my career time I have spent with Arvind Mills and retired as the Group Chief Executive. Major area of activity during my Arvind days have been the development of a product unknown in this subcontinent as indigo denims. That was the prime contribution what Arvind made at that point of time. I think I leave it to Mr. Bagria now to take over because I know we are running short of time. So, Mr. Bagria, please.
Thank you, Mr. Roy. I am Nikunj Bagadia, the Managing Director of Ken Enterprises Private Limited. We are a fabric manufacturer based out of a town called Ichalkaranji, which is 400 kilometers south of Mumbai. I am a textile engineer myself, and we have a team of about 250 people. We started fabric exports in the year 2014, and presently for grey fabrics, we are amongst the top 5 grey fabric exporters from India, and we are exporting fabric to over 20 countries. Our major focus is on cotton fabrics, but we are also doing linens, rayons, and all other fibers. So that is what we are at Ken.
I must introduce myself because I'm Prem Malik. I have been in textile for the last 56 years. And I'm still learning in textile. It has been a journey which has been, I've seen those days when we used to have hardly any export from India. And the way India has really progressed over the years, though it is still falls short of the expectation that we have. I've been also working as chief executive in Bombay Dyeing and Mafatlal Industries, and being the chairman of the Confederation of Indian Textile Industry and chairman of the Texprocel, which is responsible for the Cotton Export Promotion Council from India. So with these few words, I will now start with the basic discussion. What would be the 3 top products that you feel that US companies can import from India? We can start with Mr. Nikunj or Dr. Rai, whichever the way. Mr. Roy?
Okay. Can I take it over?
Yes, please.
To me, I look at the entry to United States market from a slightly different angle. since that has been my experience in my working days at Arvind. We never followed what others were following. In the process, the classical way of competing we had to avoid. Although at that point of time, the decentralized sector was the prime competitive sectors against the organized sectors. Today, we believe where we stop, that can be having a beginning also, like in denim. I have been talking to the denim players in this country that we have seen a lot of indigo denims at that point of time until date. But we do not see silk denim, we do not see linen denims, we do not see jute denims in the process, which one has already developed within this country with the expertise of Indian industries. One needs to come forward and look at the United States. As far as I know from my friendship with some of the people in United States, they are all waiting for such products to enter the United States market in a big way like that. The second, what we have seen, the high quality cotton textiles, which we have been doing by some of the leaders in this country, need to be pushed forward in this sense. And I am yet to see anybody talking about the high quality two-ply, high-twisted voiles for US market, since it was always considered the market is not meant for that. But I felt that was a misunderstanding, since I have been traveling many times within the United States and have talked to people. If you look at denim, if you look at the high quality, these voilians and eventually the voile products, and of course what Mr. Malik touched upon is the non-wovens. The non-wovens need to be given a major push from this angle within this country to be in United States to complete these basic three product lines. The basic three product line, that could be many more. I'm just sticking to three because that has been suggested by the moderator. But denim has got a wide open opportunity still to enter United States with novelty of fibers. The last one, what I would like to touch upon, since Mr. Udeshi was sitting here, we do not see at all in this country the polyester denim. So my request to Mr. Udeshi and his team would be, can we enter into that field with a lot of R&D, which can be provided by the Indian scientists itself. And they are capable of developing such products, and I had the opportunity of going and visiting Reliance at a given point of time. All their units, is almost about 20 years back. And I personally felt the Reliance is capable with their fantastic team to develop such polyester denim, which is unheard of or unseen in the global market. So these are some of the products I would like to touch upon, and there could be many more which we can discuss later on.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Nikunj, please.
So adding to what Mr. Roy said, I definitely believe denim is a very good, should be a very good product for the US market. Again, woven voiles, which already from India and already from a decentralized sector like ours is being exported to the Middle East, to the Far East, to Switzerland for very, very high-end finishing. I don't see a reason why we cannot do it to the US as well, as far as voiles are concerned. But again, I would like to add on what could be immediately actionable products that I see. One is the fabrics which are going for coating, because amongst the top 3 imported products in US are coated fabrics. India is not, I think, very strong in coated fabrics, but even today, US is importing cotton and synthetic fabrics, which they do coating in the US. So the base fabrics for coating in US again could be a very, very good and interesting market. And adding to what Mr. Udeshi said, polyester fabrics in gray stage which also go for coating and other applications, have an instant market. So these are some of the products which I feel can take off immediately if we are able to connect with the right customers, because we definitely from India have existing strength in them. That's from me, Mr. Malik.
Yeah, if I add from my side, from the areas where we can really, some of the top products that we can really increase within the US. One is basically the upholstery fabrics. It's a big market as far as US is concerned, and we are not very strong and aggressive in that area. The second is basically the curtaining industry for the curtain, fabrics for the curtain, because these are basically, you know, made to order. So you need the fabric for that. So again, in that area is a second product with the India, with having its capability today. With this kind of capability, if our sellers are able to approach the buyers in United States for upholstery fabrics as well as the curtaining fabric, it can give them a great boost to their business. The third business which I see, which is very uh, easy for India to do, is basically is just plain weave, lightweight printed fabrics, which again has a huge market, which is being dominated by others like Pakistan and others. But we have not been in that area in a big way. So that's another area where we can. As far as voiles, as both of you said, voile has been so dear to me, and Dr. knows that in fact, we were the pioneers to bring voiles into the world from basically the rest of the Western world. And we finished Japan, we finished Switzerland, we finished various other big countries. And we started with, as Nikun said, in the Middle East, because Middle East was the main market. But looking at United States, that could be another very good suggestion which has come forward from both the other panel speakers. Any other suggestions you have on the products that we can supply? We can add, otherwise we go on to the second question. Then what are the three top products which you feel are very much in demand in the United States, but India is not able to fulfill? Dr. Rai, please.
One obviously is what I have been talking right from the beginning, is denim itself in its new form.
Yeah.
So that demand we have seen, but we have not seen anybody fulfilling. The second one, we have seen what was done by China in the beginning of this millennium, when everybody was looking for a new product line. They come out with a product group, right from starting with the gloves, and they actually swept the market, although they were not members at that point of time of WTO. But they could do that job with a completely new range of product, and that can be looked into once more by us, what we missed at that point of time and where we can move in, So that is another area what we felt that would be an interesting area. People who have always touched the untapped areas in the field of textiles and could do a wonderful job in terms of the export. The third one, since the linkage between India and United States in terms of fabric export is pretty weak. Overall, fabric export from any part of the world to United States is not a very strong area. It's a weak area. One needs to think quietly what else can be done for United States market without burning our hands at a given point of time. So these are the three areas I wanted to touch upon.
Thank you, Dr. Rai. Now, Mr. Nikunj.
I think one of the immediately actionable areas could be coated fabrics. because already US is importing coated fabrics in large quantities from China and other countries. And since we already have the base fabric, coated fabrics is one area which could be addressed very quickly. And then, of course, as the data suggests, there has been a massive growth in knit fabric imports in US from India, and that is only slated to go up further. So I think these two areas would look very interesting going forward.
Now, if I suggest myself that one basic area where we are lacking, and as Mr. Udeshi also said, is basically the man-made fiber textiles. In man-made fiber, all the sportswear area is basically empty as far as we are talking. Sportswear, swimwear, all the areas which relate to the, if we have to develop, if we look at the world, basically 65% of the fabrics and the products made thereof are in man-made fibers. And only hardly about 30% is in cotton. While we are very strong on cotton, we are not strong on the man-made fiber. So on man-made fiber textiles, we have to really lay our emphasis on and look at those items which are very, very strong, especially in the outerwear, sportswear, and swimwear. That's one area where one can do it. Secondly is that India has been concentrating all along basically into the fabrics which are meant for spring and summer season. While America also has a very strong winter. So for winter, basically the fabrics which are needed is featherproof and downproof fabrics, which are basically either bleached or to some extent are accrued. That's one area where India supplies to some extent, but only as gray form. Now, where here we have to bring basically is the value addition, that why can't we supply the featherproof fabrics in bleached form and the accrue form. So that's in one area where we are basically missing. And I fully agree on basically impregnated and coated fabrics, which are basically required. So I think diversification and value addition and the innovation in the fabrics which they are importing from various other countries, and India is not significant in those areas, are the areas where our exporters should lay their emphasis upon. The second is, the third basic question is, are there any items, because it's going to be a bilateral trade, and though we buy from United States, our imports are only limited to 840 million US dollars, while we export is 8.3 billion, and which we would like to grow many folds in view of the opportunities that exist today. But still, are there any opportunities where we can add value to our products by bringing in some products from United States into the country and then re-export back to them or the other countries? Dr. Rai?
It will be somewhat limited since the manufacturing of textiles itself in the United States have remained limited over the last quite a few decades. There are not adequately large producer of textiles, but there has been lot many people who produce finished products. Today we have not talked about the finished products, not even from India, whereas there could have been a lot of export potential of other product groups which go out of India as a final finished product. We have talked about the basic textiles which are being exported from India to United States. If we really take care of the final finished product, India can become a more interesting exporter of, whether you call it garment or any other particular product line, which are basically finished in India and exported. You know, as I was telling, every time you will be surprised why Dr. is touching upon denim. Because when we started, there was not a single finisher of denim in the subcontinent of India. So we were very free to offer to United States market the free denims, which were basic textiles. And we had ample buyers at that point of time in United States. So we have not really talked about the jeans or any other product lines, which are basically the converted products. That will give us an ample opportunity, including bed and bath product. We have not talked at all today, but there's an ample scope and opportunity of those finished products from this country to United States, and which have been proved over the last couple of years. India has turned out to be a major exporter of such products. So these are just some examples.
Mr. Nikunj?
Here it's more about trade, and I think not only about importing of manufactured goods from US. So what we can get from US is the technology, the know-how, the design, collaborate with them in upping the quotient, the manufacturing quotient here, and export to them more value-added products. I think the possibilities for collaboration with them would be really, really high in terms of technical know-how and the design part.
Right. One area which I can see where there is an opportunity is that India is looking into the technical textiles in a big way to do our own. But at the same time, we are still importing a lot of technical textiles from mainly Europe, like countries like Germany and others, and also from China. Whether we see an opportunity from US, both in terms of bringing in and then bringing the technology or setting up a unit with our own people and taking it forward.
May I request that everybody wrap up in a few minutes, please?
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
Now, what is basically the most of the suppliers will be interested in what kind of how to approach basically the various people within the United States. What is the kind of the benefits that we show to them so that they are more attracted to India than from where they are sourcing today. So would you like to, though a lot of has been already said during the course of the discussions, what India is capable of and what we are basically offering and what the government is doing. So if we can throw in a 1 minute each of us so that we are running late already on time. So we can, Dr. Rai, can you?
I think in principle, combined, we have more or less summarized what will be required today for our export to United States. But the best thing would be what you have already planned. And this particular webinar is one of the starting points where US and India can sit together and can chalk out that strategic plan in which areas to move in together. That would be my suggestion only.
Thank you, Dr. Rai. Mr. Nikunj?
So I just, before this session, I spoke to one of the largest importers in US. And I asked him, in spite of the challenges that you face working in India, why do you still want to work with India? So I will just enumerate the answer that he gave me, that why he still loves to work with India. He said the first is diversifying the vendor base, which is essentially China plus one strategy. Second is really very high respect for the Indian democracy and the laws. Third is the ease of communication. Because of English speaking population, it's really easy to communicate. Another few points he said is in India, we can work with much lower MOQs, which doesn't happen with China and Indonesia. In India, they can look for boutique products, unique products, slightly different from the commodities which they import already. And like Udeshi sir said, the agility with which we are able to adopt to the changing environment and the changing demands, I think that is what makes us really a very good partner, potential partner, and growth opportunity working with India. I think that would be my answer here, sir.
Okay. I mean, we are already a very strong partner with each other, but the question is how to really take it forward from there in a big way. From, let's say today, 8 billion, how do we go to $20 billion or $30 billion kind of?
100 billion. We have to reach $100 billion.
100 billion is for India. I'm talking of United States.
Okay.
I'm
Good.
talking of United
So,
States.
thank you very much, Mr. Malik, Dr. Roy, and Mr. Nikunj. Let's start the second panel.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for your patience.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Good evening. I'm Harit Mehta, Director at Harin Textiles, the fully integrated textile mill based in Bombay, making specialty technical fabrics coated and uncoated from polyesters, recycled polyesters, and nylons. I will be the moderator for this panel, The Garment Business from India to the US. With me tonight are from Shahi Exports, Vice President, Mr. Ashok Raman, from Apparel Export Promotion Council, Advisor, Ms. Chandrima Chatterjee, from Ralph Lauren Tommy Hilfiger, ex-Vice President, Mr. Suresh Balram. Welcome. Please send us your questions for the panelists in the live chat or via email, the textile forum at iaccindia.com, and sign up at the IACC textile database. It's free. Gentlemen and madam, in 60 seconds, please tell us what you do and what your company and your council does.
I'll take the question first.
Yes, Mr. Raman.
Yeah, hi, my name is Ashok Raman. I'm a Senior Vice President with the Shahi Exports. So in 60 seconds, if you want to tell us the strengths of Shahi, is that I would put it first as a very strong sustainability. And second is one of the largest employer of women in the textile industry in India. Third is a completely vertically integrated solution, right from yarn to the end of delivery merchandise as the customer warehouse in US. And last but not the least is the leadership in digital design. If you tell us that what are the 4 pillars which would make India's one of the leading exporters, is these are the 4 prime attributes that I would say in the 60 seconds. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Madam Chatterjee.
Good evening and thank you. I am representing Apparel Export Promotion Council, which comprises of over 7,000 apparel exporters from across India. I look after the research policy and advocacy there, and from that point of view, I think today's discussion is a great area to look into. We are already working on that, and a lot of interactions are happening on the India-US FTA. So I think there is a lot to share today on this. Thank you.
Mr. Balram, welcome.
Thank you. Good evening and good morning. My name is Suresh Balram. I'm in the textile industry for the last 31 years. And I was fortunate to work 10 years at Tommy Hilfiger, 10 years with Polo Ralph Lauren, and I've been in touch with different brands like Timberland, Nordstrom Product Group, Pierre Cardin, Han Anderson, Eileen Fisher. So the list is a big list, which I worked across USA, Europe countries in the last 31 years. So I'm happy to be part of this webinar today. Thank you.
Super. What 3 products does India sell very well to the United States in fabric form, garment form, whatever form that you suggest?
Can I answer first?
Yes, please.
Okay. So in the last 10 years, I've developed more than 300 qualities plus for the brand which I work for. So naming three products, it's out of 300, I'll try to make an attempt. So sometime back, 5 years back, we had a challenge of developing CVC fabric, cotton polyester, chief value cotton. And India didn't have technology at that particular time. We hunted almost all the mills in India, nobody was doing, and cost was very high. We could not compete with China. So we found a partner and who could invest in the new machineries, and we developed this fabric. And till today, they have done 4 million yards.
Wow.
That was a big
Excellent.
hit for us. Then 100% cotton flannel was a big for us. And another fabric, 60s crinkle gauze for women's, printed, solid, and yarn dyed. This was mostly sourced from China before we started. And we had mills in Erode and Ichalkaranji. And we could we had some specialty processing out of Erode, where this fabric was dried in line method, not in machine drying. So that gave a very good crinkle effect. That brand loved it. And the entire business was shifted from China to India.
Fantastic.
So we have developed both in solid and prints. Prints again was a big challenge for us. When we showcased printed fabrics to our customer in USA, when they saw the presentation, their comments was India is not good for prints. So they pushed me away. Then later on, I came back and we developed the prints with a particular mill in Mumbai, and we went back and showcased. They saw the result was good. So after 2 years, our office became one of the largest printing office in India.
Wow, congratulations.
So these three qualities, I would say, India is we are one of the country which has as many people have mentioned, largest producer of cotton, largest spindlage in for spinning, then viscose and all those things. So it's a very diverse category that we can make.
You, Mr. Raman, what are your three big garments that India sells very well to the United States?
I would say that, fashion tops has been a very core strength, specifically the women's fashion tops. We've been in huge expansion that's happening in denim in India. Normally, most of the fabrics out of Arvind goes to Bangladesh to get converted, but there is a huge push, huge demand coming back on denim. And the third is the outerwear segment. These are the three products which I think that India has scaled up over the last 3 years.
Madam Chatterjee, would you like to add something to the three products that India does very well to the United States?
Yeah, I think I can just lend the national perspective on this with the overall export flow that we usually observe. So if you're looking at around a $4 billion market of apparel to the US, then out of that 384 million, which is the top product, is of the knitted t-shirts. That is around nearly means, if I look at the last 5 years, around 8 to 10% of our exports is in that product, followed by knitted babies garment, and then by again knitted men's shirt, woven men's shirt. Besides this, the other major categories are, of course, woven tops and a little bit of an outerwear. So so there has been a very consistent trend in these top three products that we have seen to the United States.
What kind of outerwear, Ms. Chatterjee, have you seen that is in demand in the United States?
Sorry, I will not be able to take in terms of specific products. As I'm telling you, I am giving a national perspective based on the data that we collect all the time. So, but I think I need to be a little more specific on this. We are talking of some sportswear kind of outerwear here, not the formal kind. We are talking of sports jackets and all that.
Okay. Mr. Raman, you want to add something to this?
It's basically an athleisure. That's been the huge push that's happened in the last 3 years because of work from home. That's why you see a huge bump up in the knit segment. That's primarily because of people working from home. The amount of trend of buying is shifted. The whole global pandemic has completely changed the way people buy. The products have shifted. So that's the reason I think that it's athleisure and casual outerwear, fleece jackets. These are the ones which are actually picked up in the last 2 years. Thank you.
In fact, athleisure is an area which we understand from some of the bigger buying houses. India is really doing good now and is surprisingly more competitive than some of our competitors. We usually consider that we are not so price competitive on. Yes, it has come up in a big way in the last 1 or 2 years.
Excellent. What 3 products does India not supply to the United States, but there is a demand? So if an Indian manufacturer or any of the textile supply chain could invest in, we could sell that product to the United States. So what 3 products India does not make, but there is a demand?
Can I answer? Yeah.
Yes, please.
Okay, we cannot say that what India cannot make that the US wants, like, but it's a generic kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So mainly what I have observed, like, India is weak in synthetics. We may be slightly better in polyester, but nylon, when it comes to nylon, we are a little bit weak there. So that is one category. And another category is the functional finishes, which we need to gear up. So we are good in basics. We are very good in 100% cotton products, and we are excellent in yarn dyed products, right from 10s count to 2x140s. We can, and we are one of the best in the world for 40s and 50s and 60s count. So when it comes to functional finishes, we need to be there, which is in great demand from USA. And usually those kind of styles and those kind of products usually goes to other countries. Another thing which I have observed in the last 6 months, which really we need to come up is the tri-blends. So we are good in cotton and spandex, and as I mentioned, all those things. So the lot of inquiries are coming where the tri-blend like cotton tencel spandex or cotton modal spandex. So intimate blend, not the union blends. So we are working with major spinning mills to gear up for tri-blends, because the brands are looking for the comfort of cotton, hand feel of tencel, and stretchability. So they are asking for all functions to be in one product. So
Correct.
this is very, because a lot of Japanese mills are doing innovation and these kind of products, and we need to really work on this. And few of the mills have come forward and they are taking trial, because MOQ, the minute we want to spin a new type of product, the MOQ goes up to 10,000 yards or 20,000 yards, because it is made to order. So initial difficulties are there. Maybe this can go further. Then another product which a lot of people spoke about is the denim thing. I think few years back, India had 1.1 billion yards of capacity. I don't know, it would have reduced now. We are good in producing fabric, denim fabrics, excellent fabrics. But the conversion, the laundry facilities, because for me, in my experience of 30 years, denim is the most difficult subject, which is a combination of art and science. So we need excellent laundry, excellent innovation for that. So the denim business never came to our office, and it is always going to Turkey, Mexico, and other countries. So these are the 4 things which I thought of.
Interesting, interesting. Mr. Raman, something to...
Denim, I agree with Balram, but we've expanded capacities over the last many years. Companies have invested a huge amount in laundry. We do for all the top brands like Tommy Hilfiger. Most of them are still making out of India currently. So there's been a good transition in terms of denim where the large exporters have invested. That's number 1. Number 2 is actually the demand is for athleisure sports, which is basically polyester knitted garment. Probably of any of your sportwear, whether you take a Lululemon or a Nike or any of the top brands, they need risk mitigation out of Vietnam, for which they are looking at India, and India does not have the capacity to scale up to the production level what they're expecting. That's product number 2. Product number 3 is basically, specialty jackets like dawn filling in polyesters. So these are the kind of product where there is a demand, but India lacks expansion of capacity and expertise. Thank you.
Okay. Ms. Chatterjee, how should Indians go about make it known that they
Yes,
are a producer?
but
Sorry.
coming back to that, the only thing I want to add, I think it was bang on what Shahi said on this. Only thing is that one more thing we need to aspire for, means as a council, maybe that's the perspective I would like to give, is that even where we're talking of a certain product category like polyester t-shirts and polyester shirts or all, which are the areas we are looking at, and is reflecting in this the PLI scheme that is coming for this, where I think the government is also reiterating diversifying into that, into the values, the unit value segment that you're moving in. In many of these categories, we are still in the $5 to $10 or maximum $15, but there's a huge market for beyond that, at least at least up to a $50 product. So if you're looking at aspirationally also in this, then that is another area also I think we should talk about.
Super. Ms. Chatterjee, because you're on Apparel Export Promotion Council, what should an individual Indian supplier do to make it known to the Americans that here I am, I can make this for you?
I think now there is a lot of bilateral talks. So in terms of platforms, we have a lot of official, like the Indian Embassy there and here are also supporting in a big way. That is the first channel. As a council, I think we are finding it very handy to use and trying to bring on board the manufacturers onto B2Bs or directly through the embassies to the suppliers. But I think online is where, in terms of the gap between the presence and the present opportunities and presence, is another area where in case somebody is a new entrant into that market can look into. Third, of course, is brands are presently looking at diversification. There is a lot of queries that are coming at. So reaching out with the right products, presently there is a lot of opportunity in that.
Mr. Raman, how would a entrepreneur, maybe 100, 200 machines, selling very good in India, reach out to an American buyer?
Mr. Harith, you see, the focus should be on USP of the particular manufacturer. See, like how Mr. Udeshi started off saying that he needs to have a USP proposal to the customer. So unless and until you have a USP, you just cannot sell a product.
Sure.
So you can be a 100 machine factory, but in today's IT world, there's so much of digital design that's happening. Nobody's traveling. Business is running for the last 2 years. Absolutely, based on a Zoom and the digital tools that people are using, where they're able to make a complete line and present to the customer. What I'm trying to say is that first, whether it is 100 machine or 200 machine or 300 machines, first you need to have a focus on what you are good at. The problem with most of the exporters is that they want to touch everything. Today they want to do knits, tomorrow they want to do woven, they want to do t-shirt, they want to try everything. Create a USP that you have, put your money in digital design. These two are the elements what I would recommend. Thank you.
Mr. Balram, how would a Indian small manufacturer approach you as a big brand?
So as Mr. Raman mentioned, it has to go by USP. And always we talk about three parameters, QPS or SPQ or whatever form order you put it, which is quality, pricing, and service. So these three parameters are very important. And the size doesn't matter, whether it's a small factory or a big factory, if he is good in innovation. Example, I have a supplier in Panipat. He doesn't even have a proper office. He was always on the floor level and dyeing the yarn, and is an organized sector. But the products he creates is real world class. It's so beautifully makes it cut shuttle looms, hand dyed, hand woven, and the products are made with leather embellishment and beautiful bags. So for me, innovation is one thing. Then maintaining quality is by default, you have to give quality. There's no compromise on that. Of course, the pricing is should be competitive, and for me, service should be excellent in terms of communication, on-time performance, and meeting all the quality standards, testing parameters, color matching. So we need to give more service to the brand, make their life easy, so that the brand focus on the design aspects. So they can give more and more design to us, we can execute properly. So this is the point I want to mention.
Excellent. Do you want to ask each other something? The panelists ask each other, which would help the audience both in the United States who is looking to source to India or from India, or wants to sell something to India. Could you ask each other some? Yeah,
I can ask Ms. Chatterjee.
Yes.
I think excellent forum here. So Ms. Chatterjee can say what is the advantage India through your APC.
I think because it is relative to our competitors is what Mr. Raman also said, that competitiveness today, especially in garment, which is a very consumer and perception and reputation driven product, is where our strength is. You know, most of the brands, at least the brand purchasing is, you would also know, is largely driven by how safe reputationally also they are, besides other things. So, because obviously quality and price is always there. So I think from that point of view, that right messaging, if it goes, that's our biggest USP today, because even the Biden government, I understand, is focusing a lot on some of these social and environmental compliance issues. We of course have a few challenges there, but the perception is still good, and that should be demonstrated, and through whatever communication channels that the exporter is using to reach out to the brands.
As we wrap up in a few minutes, I want to ask you one last question. Mr. Balram, when we were talking offline, you mentioned that from the date that a sample of a fabric is submitted to you, it took quite some time to convince the foreign buyer to buy from India. Could you tell us what are the things that you told your brand on why they should buy locally in India for their Indian production?
Okay, the main thing is, like, you know, I work like there is a calendar. Okay, every product has to be on time in the stores. So we had a 10 months of calendar, 6 months for research, development, sourcing, costing, sales sample, everything. And the next 4 months is for the fabric production, the garment production, and shipping out. So the 6 months is very, very important for us. And when the fabric is locally sourced, we save on time and shipping, and we can meet the delivery time. So we whenever like, you know, any swatches or quality to be developed reached our office, so always we were referred to the other country where they're very fast. They get discounts in 3 days, whereas India takes 1 week or 10 days. So we it's a culturally different country. Like, you know, we have a lot of festivals, so we have to take a lot of parameters into consideration. So in spite of that, we have done successfully. I'm proud to say, as I mentioned earlier, 300 plus qualities has been developed, approved, and successfully running, and shifting most of the business from other country to India.
Excellent. Mr. Raman, one last add something to this. How did you get an American buyer to move his production to India beyond price? Assume that the same price was in 2 different countries, or we were marginally high. How did you have him or her come to Shahi, come to India to do business?
It depends on every company's strengths. For example, you know, in terms of sustainability, we would humbly say that we are one of the leaders. Probably 84% of our carbon neutral footprint of electricity is neutral.
Excellent.
And second is in terms of, you know, how do you approach the customer? What is your end-to-end solution that you provide? Which means that, you know, you can right from the store design and right from the product design. How do you take it from there to deliver to them seamlessly? If you're able to crack this both, then you would be able to convince the customer. That's my answer.
Superb. Ms. Chatterjee,
Before that, I would like to say, I think the trends give us a very encouraging point. If you're talking of the overall apparel market, in 2019, the US market was around 83 billion. Of course, it has come down to 64 billion in 2020, but that's a 23% decline. But our main competitors, China, declined by around 40%, and we did far better than them. So I think the circumstances are positive. One, of course, is the cotton-based products, where now we should be doing better because China will not be able to supply a large part of it. Besides that, I think the other areas which shows our keenness is the kind of schemes that the central government in terms of PLI and Mitra are bringing, and the state governments are giving. So there are a lot of schemes that should be attractive to potential investors or collaborators. And as I would like to again reiterate, in terms of other changes, be it labor and other environmental changes, a lot of conducive policies are coming, which should be making it a more safer, stable sourcing destinations. Maybe these can help attract more investment and collaboration.
Super. Thank you, Ms. Chatterjee. Thank you, Mr. Raman. Thank you, Mr. Balram. And thank you for showing us how Indo-US business can be done and why it's possible. Having heard about fabrics offered, garments, what we can now do to buy from the US, we switch this to source it all. Specialty yarns and recycled yarns for bilateral trade. May I please welcome Mr. Sharat Tandon, CEO, S. Tandon Consulting, with 30 years of experience and an integral part of our Indo-American Chamber of Commerce Textile Forum. Mr. Tandon, welcome.
Yeah, I am so sorry. Thank you, Harit-ji. Good evening, everyone. I am Sharat Tandon, CEO S. Tandon Consulting. I will be the moderator for this panel. Specialty yarns and recycled yarns for bilateral trade. With me tonight are Mr. Mukrant Kulkarni, CEO Polygenta Technologies Limited. Welcome, Mr. Kulkarni.
Thank you.
Mr. Praveen Gogia, Senior VP Exports, Garware Walrus Limited.
Hi, good evening.
Mr. Praveen.
Thank you very much. Good
And
evening.
Mr. Bhadresh Dodia, Director, International Trade and Finance, Dodia Group, as well as Vice Chairman, SRTPEC.
Hi,
Welcome,
good
Bhadresh
evening,
ji.
everyone. Good morning, everyone.
Yeah, good evening and good morning. This is the thing. So, a request to the audience, please send your questions for panelists. Do sign in your company for the textile database on link sent else IACC Textile Forum website. It's available and live. Gentlemen, in 60 seconds, please tell us about what you do and what your company does in the order of introduction, starting with Mr. Makrat, followed by Mr. Praveen, and then by Mr. Bhadresh. Mr. Makrat, please.
We are a company having a patented chemical recycling technology, and for last 10 years, we are converting PET bottles into a high quality polyester filament yarn, as well as chips. So that is a primary function we are doing. We recycle about 2.5 million bottles a day today, and which will grow to a level of about 18 million bottles a day in coming 1.5 years.
Okay. Perfect. Praveenji? Yeah.
Yeah. So good evening, everyone, and good morning to colleagues in America. I look after the international business for the company, Garware Technical Fibers Limited. Our company is one of the largest company in the world for synthetic cordage and fishing nets and the sports net. We export to over 70 countries. We are the largest supplier for aquaculture industry in all the developed countries, that is Norway, Canada, Chile, Australia, etc. And we are the largest sports good exporter out of India, although our product is only the sports netting. But it is, we are supplying to all over the world this product. So it makes us the largest company in India for that as well. So it's a pleasure to be here.
and look forward to interacting with everyone on this panel. Thank you.
Hi, thank you, Praveen. This is Badresh Dodia here, Director, Promoter of Dodia Group. We are into textiles and chemicals. In textiles, we are one of the larger value-added polyester filament yarn producers, starting from a new ventured rPET production with a capacity of 90 tons per day. Therein, we have series of value-added products in our basket, namely dyed, space dyed, dope dyed. So in polyester filament value-added chain, we sit right on the top with the sales of over 5,000 tons of yarn only in value-added yarn product.
Oh,
so thank you for having me here. Looking forward for the conversation.
No, my pleasure, and I'm sure with the diverse and specialized areas that we have, it's going to be wonderful. Starting with the standard set of questions, the purpose of this seminar, that is trade in and trade out. So the first, what top 3 products you feel are in demand in the US and Indians cannot yet fulfill? And I'll merge it with the other question. And what 3 products you feel US companies can source it from India? And we'll follow the same order of answering so that we are not waiting for each other. Can we start with Makranji, then Gogiaji, and then Badresh?
Sure.
I will start with what kind of products are being demanded.
Yeah.
At this moment, from US, there is a good demand for recycled textured yarns, which has a good demand, particularly micro denier products as well as fine denier products. They are in good demand. And a lot of customers are also looking for recycled chips to convert them into the yarn, either in the USA or in South American continent, from where there are many trade initiatives which are available for them. So those 2 products are in good demand. Apart from that, where a challenging area is, there is a lot of demand for high tenacity recycled yarns. So either for making swing threads or some other applications, where I believe from today from India, there is a certain limitation in terms of capacities and technical capabilities, or we haven't developed so far.
Okay, shall I go?
Yeah, Praveen, please.
Okay, so my experience, as I mentioned earlier to everyone, that we are in sports net manufacturing, and that brings me to this demand. During the pandemic or during the any financial crisis, this business of ours has been very buoyant. We did not see any dip, or it's a constant up and up. So during the pandemic also the demand went up. So I believe anything related to this particular sector, that is the sports sector, which many of other panelists also mentioned, is an area which one can look at. The second part I want to say is, which I was listening to the other earlier speakers as well, and completely understand what they said, is to develop unique product which has a USP. And our company is not a very large company. It's about 120 million US dollar of exports that we do. But the point is that we have chosen a particular field, and in it which we have innovated. So we developed a polyethylene filament yarn which has copper inserted in it. It's a patented yarn that our company developed, because our products go inside the water and they are subject to fouling.
Right.
So with a copper inside which leaches out over a period of time, it provides the kind of anti-fouling property. And we see that this product has a huge demand. So created by the company, R&D, innovation. So all of that has got incorporated. So I believe some such area where we choose our area of expertise and then innovate deeply through R&D, there is a significant demand because you can grow in that. So that's my 2 bits to it. Thank you.
Wonderful. Badresh?
Yeah, as Makarand mentioned, we have a good possibility of being a supplier of sustainable textile, which is the center today for most of the brands for coming years to come. So under sustainability, I think one of the low-hanging fruit is the PET bottles to yarns or fibers or fabrics. So that's one area where India can excel itself and be a provider of sustainability yarn. Second area I would like to mention here is, see, US is one of the biggest carpet producer in the world. Okay. And those carpets have been driven by traditional yarns like BCF or mainly cotton rugs. So a lot of new innovative polyester yarns are already in the market, and that has been driven by India in a fairly big way. Unfortunately, those yarns have not reached the US source in a volume which it could see. So that's one area where we can surely excel. Another area where we can probably look at is a commodity which can have a performance guarantee like antimicrobial, UV light resistance. So today, consumer being more conscious on the health, there is a lot of focus on performance wear along with sportswear. So I think India being a strong polyester producer or synthetic producer, we can add values in a performance wear sector.
Right.
Makes sense.
Yeah, perfect. So since you are in the trade and the actual business of dealing and developing innovative products at the same time marketing, now what would be the 3 specific steps you recommend for small and large companies to increase business with USA? Makanji?
Can you repeat, please?
What are the 3 specific steps you recommend for large and small companies to increase business with USA?
I think as the earlier panelist also suggested, that is applicable to this field also.
Right.
So first of all, we should understand our USP, where we excel, where we have capability to provide those qualities, and we should offer those products. We should concentrate on those products instead of running behind every opportunity. For sustainable products particularly, there is another area where which becomes very important is transparency and the other things like the carbon footprint and how we are providing data to the customers or to brands about it. Because as we move ahead or the markets become more and more mature, it is not just important to provide only a sustainable product or a recycled product, or if I say I have got a GRS certification, so I'm giving recycled product and that's enough. That is not going to happen. Ultimately, how you produce it, how sustainable is your process, and how really you are able to manage. And brands are increasingly also looking at the HR practices. So when you are selling a sustainable product, if you are selling a sustainable product, but you are not following basic HR laws of the country, or your practices are not good enough, it will not work. Ultimately, those customers will never work with you in longer run. So these things are equally important.
Right. Praveerji, can you add to
Yeah,
this? Because you are essentially, your forte is marketing. So
yes.
I'd love to hear from you.
Good. And I would go for a very simple thing, and it will, appear to be not very high flying branding or anything. I found that the best branding for my customers when we were starting off and we were small at that time,
Yeah.
when the customer used to come to our plant and see for themselves everything.
Okay.
The manufacturing, people, connect, and also the whole experience of India. I think India sells itself. So they have become long-term, 25 years our customer. In fact, coming here and spending honeymoon in India and that kind of thing. So I think simple, close connect with your customer through this is a very powerful tool for not only attracting, convincing, credibility, as well as long-term, association. So everyone else knows all about trade fairs and all that, so I wouldn't go through that. But this is what I found has a very unique appeal to the buyers, and especially from America, I'm sure it would be so.
Oh, that's wonderful. I think fantastic idea since the entire IACC here. Can we start a Indo-American matrimonial service club with this to increase our trade? So, maybe, but that's wonderful. Like you said, we first get the basics right. Bhadreji, your take on what are the 3 specific steps you would advise EMS?
Well, what I have seen in our product line is US is little different mindset when it comes to buying intermediates or yarns than over other countries. US specifically demands delivered to door, wherein the customized product are little longer deliveries, delivered to port. Those are the stuff which are international norms. So there is a big challenge in terms of adapting to the working methodology of US buyers over other which has been trading. Regarding your question on how can we reach small buyers can reach out, I think your platform is fantastic platform. I also represent Export Promotional Council of Synthetic and Rayon as a vice chairman. So we can collaborate together. We just had a session last month where Walmart was there, and we invited our members to showcase the products and what all they can collaborate to. So yeah, we can work together and jointly make this India accessible to US customers more and more.
Perfect. That's amazing. I'm sure we will be more than glad to reach out and find ways of that. So now, see, what has been interesting to me is we have a very huge market, and we apparently have a huge manufacturing capability, as Sudeshi ji is present. So where is the bottleneck? We'll go reverse this time. We'll start with Bhadresh ji, then Kokia ji, then Makran ji. So where exactly is the bottleneck happening? Why this two things don't translate?
There are various, I could see as a bottleneck. From the policy perspective, we have been not having constant export policies where, for example, we had earlier duty drawback, excise, GST, then turn into MEIS. Suddenly it gets stopped, and now there is a new road tax. So for an exporters, really the visibility for next 2-3 years, a constant policy push.
In this, if I may come in, of course, always the government policies are we would desire long term and other this thing, always the point. But coming from the challenge of the decentralized sector in India, are we really, suppose if those policies were standard and layout, are we really in a position to sign a 1-year contract with our buyers with price stability?
I think from the industry which I belong, we are in fairly good capacity and excess supply. Right. So definitely we are in position to supply as per the demand and the quantity what is desired by the customers. So I don't see a challenge in those.
Right. Okay. And Praveenji, where do you find the bottleneck according to you? Where are we getting stuck?
Sir, I think, I don't know, maybe I'm speaking a little bit out of term, but just a anecdotal thing is that we attend a trade show, let's say ISPO, which is the biggest, one of the biggest show for sports. in Munich. And we find the Indian presence is maybe, if we have one company, then you will have 20 companies from China for similar product range. So I think the aggressive in going out of the country and selling yourself and trying to be having the outlook to look after our business other than India is probably one bottleneck which I would say we can overcome. So that initially, we were export was a filler for our company, and domestic was the big market. But as the things develop, today our international business is 60% and our domestic business is 40% of our company. So it's a much bigger and much value-added market if we go out. So one bottleneck is our maybe the aggressiveness, which I'm sure this IACC and other promotion councils are working hard to, debottleneck, let us say.
Fair enough. Mr. Makran, your take on the bottleneck that we have?
In a way, I agree with Praveen ji. For our company, specifically for our company, our initial customers, brands were from Europe, and we concentrated on those markets where they have the supply chains. And because of that, we haven't really concentrated hard on US market. As we are now growing in size, we are working on that. Probably what we also see for textile grade yarns, there are certain duties, additional duties in US, and that could be a bottleneck. So maybe we will be concentrating more on the South American continent to begin with, than having a direct sale to USA.
Yeah, Badreshi, you want to say something?
Yeah, I would like to throw one entrepreneurship angle to this bottleneck question. See, fairly in India, what we have seen is consumption has overtaken the investment generally in India. So most of the textiles, we are also a net importer of textile today. Now, what is lagging in textile investment to go into a big production and serve the country is a very high cost of funds in India, because in India, generally, you are looking at the cost fund of 8 to 9% today, wherein the EBITDA, what you are looking in general textile companies are close to 10%, 10 to 15%. So the investments are not really coming in as at the speed which consumptions are driving. So the cost of fund, yes, could be a bottleneck.
Right. Thank you. Thanks for the depth of the knowledge, and it's really enlightening even for us with whatever we claim to be years of experience and all that. Mr. Harit?
Mr. Tandon, would you like to take down few questions for the panelists?
Do we have the questions? Can you please?
Yeah, just I can read out one question. One gentleman, Mr. Puneet Khimasia, hello, has mentioned that what is the major problem with US is trade in terms of quality of products. What do we need to do? How do we improve quality in order to export to US? So, any of the
who would you would which of you would like to take? Anyone can take this.
Mr. Makran can, Mr. Kulkarni can.
Yeah.
See, I don't see that today quality is a challenge, because whenever we have provided materials to US customers who are operating from US, all products are approved, and at least for our kind of products, for recycled products, I don't see there is a challenge. Even Badrej bhai, if you can permit, I can tell about your company also. The kind of dyed products and all those he is making today, they are of an international quality, and I don't see a major quality challenge. Today, we are equal to anybody in the world in terms of yarn quality. I don't see ourselves as an inferior. Yes, where probably India is lacking is in terms of the infrastructure available for shipments. That is one area where we are much inferior to China.
So
There are absolutely no question.
logistics is the
Logistically, we are
yes.
very
I would
poor.
like-
So
I would like
that
to
we
add
agree.
to
since
this,
we are gentlemen, I think this will be going on, but since we are running short of time and bhook bhi lag rahi hogi har cheez hum logon ko, and maybe they will be waiting for their breakfast to happen. Mr. Harit, please,
Okay.
can you come in? And,
Thank you, Mr. Gogia, Mr. Dodia,
Thank
for
you.
this panel.
Thank you.
And now that we know about yarns, let's move to specialty fabrics for bilateral trade. Mr. Tandon, may I please request that you continue to moderating the next panel too?
Good evening. I again, for the sake of those people who are right now joining me, thank you, Harit ji. I am Sharad Tandon, CEO of S. Tandon Consulting. I will be moderator for this panel, which is special textiles for bilateral trade, which of course bilateral trade being the byword for this seminar today. With me today are very fortunate to have a very educative and very in-depth knowledgeable panel, starting with Mr. Prashant Mohta, Managing Director of Gimatex Industries Private Limited, with an amazing story of path-breaking research and development that he has done in cotton. Mr. Dr. Talukdar, advisor of Kusumgar Corporates. He and Kusumgar Corporates are, of course, legends and pioneers of special textiles in India. Ms. Smita Yevle, Managing Director of Oriental Mills, innovator and leading manufacturer of special fabrics. Welcome all to the panelists. Again, for the benefit of the audience, I would like to repeat, please send your question for the panelists. Do sign on your company to the textile database on the link, where information is provided free of cost for you. Gentlemen, in about 60 seconds to each of you, please tell us about what you do and what your company does, starting with Dr. Talukdar, then Smitaji, and then Prashant. Dr. Talukdar, please.
Thank you, Mr. Tandon, for your kind remarks. Thank you very much. I also thank IACC for giving me an opportunity to share this panel. Now, I was a professor and head of textile department VJTI, and also an adjunct professor of IIT Bombay. I am with Kusumgar for last about 24 years. And our main interest is in the field of technical textiles, especially the rubber geo dams. Now, as regards the Kusumgar Corporation is concerned, we are more than 50 years old company, and we make only technical textiles. Our product range ranges from defense, technical, as well as customized. We have more than 500 products, and we also have collaboration with Toray of Japan for manufacturing of airbags, as well as Sati, Italy, for manufacturing of filter fabrics. Thank you.
Prashant, yes.
Yeah. Should I move it?
Yes, please.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Sharad ji. First of all, good evening to all of you, and good morning to my friends in back in US. So I'm Prashant Mohta. I am Managing Director of Gimatex Industries. This is a unit located in the central part of India in the Vidarbha, which is a cotton growing belt. So this company, Gimatex, is an absolute integrated company, starting right from ginning. So if you all are aware, in ginning, there are two major products. One is the cotton lint or the cotton bale that we talk about, which we use in textile. So we are absolute integrated right from ginning, spinning, weaving, processing, and up to garmenting. We have very recently started garmenting as well. We also have the very lucky fate of being into the other part of the cotton lint, which is a cotton seed, which actually constitutes around 65% of the output of a ginning factory. The cotton seed is around 65% in terms of weight. So there also we are absolutely integrated, where we are taking this seed and actually using solvent extraction technology and latest innovations, very technological product, where we are manufacturing degossypolized cotton seed meal or cotton seed protein. So we are making very high protein item out of this cotton seed, and then we have a refined cotton seed oil factory. So right in the even for the seed part, we are absolutely integrated till the consumer end.
Really
So
look forward to seeing.
yeah, and
Really
I
look
am also
forward to-
and I am also part of City CDRA, which is
Oh.
basically Cotton Development Research Association of City. It's a wing of City which works for the development of cotton in the country, and I am also a executive member of City. Thank you.
Look forward to hearing. Smita ji, something about you, please.
Good day to everyone here. Thank you to the Indo-American Chamber of Commerce for having me here. We are a technical textile company specializing in fabrics for defense, meditex, and structural fabrics. This company is about 45 years old, and now we are into expansion mode. We are also gone ahead and into the defense. We have graduated from making not only the fabrics, but graduated to making the end product that is used by the defense. One is the parachutes, which is used by the Indian defense as well as by the space. So that's where we stand as on today.
Wonderful. Look forward to getting more details as we go along into the panel. So coming to the standard question to set this panel discussion off, which has been, what top 3 products you feel US companies can source from India? Dr. Talukdar.
Can you repeat it? I couldn't hear it.
Yeah. What top 3 products you feel US companies can source from India?
You see, at the moment, US sources from India, some FIBC, tarpaulins, jute carpet backing, fishing nets, etc.
Okay.
That's cost about $1 billion per annum.
Okay.
But India has got a potentiality to export, especially parachute fabrics, as well as parasailing. Mr. Nikanj has already mentioned about the coated fabrics. I say coated and laminated fabrics. This has got a huge demand, right from your wind cheaters, as a coating materials in cars, especially for your especially on the tapes are used, and as well as to the high altitude fabrics. So everywhere coated fabrics are being used. The total requirement of coated fabrics in USA is more than about $25 million. So it is a very good potentiality for India to capture that market, provided we up to their mark, because the quality is very stringent.
Okay.
Another area which I feel at the moment, especially in USA, there are a lot of infrastructure projects are coming. There is a scope for geotextiles, especially geogrids and high-strength geotextiles, which is not yet tapped so far.
Okay. Smita ji, as per you?
I stand by what Dr. Talukdar has said. He has given a very perfect picture on it. So I think there's very little to add there.
Okay. Prashant ji, your take on this?
Yeah, 2 products which I would like to highlight. One definitely being cotton-based products, be it yarn, fabric, or even for that matter garments, because now US having banned Xinjiang cotton, it augurs very well for the Indian cotton to do well in US. So any cotton-based product has a very good potential. Second, the product which I was talking about, the degossipolized cotton meal, which is an alternative to soybean meal and having very good very high protein content.
So why don't we do one thing? Because as it is, we are running a little behind and we need to compress this thing. So why don't we jump directly to sharing those specific things or the ideas you so about something about gossipolized this is the thing I think you wanted to share. So
this is a very interesting product that we are manufacturing, and I think it has a huge potential to do well, not only in India but also in US, because we both of us share the one common part, which is basically we are cotton producing nations, and seed constitutes almost 65% of the total cotton fiber which comes out of the plant. So for every 1 kg of cotton lint or cotton fiber that we get from a plant, almost 1.5 kilo or more of seed is what we get from the plant. So if you are able to utilize this seed in a better manner and extract the full potential of it, because the seed is filled up with a lot of protein and minerals. But unfortunately, because cotton has this unique gossypol content within it, because of which it is not being able to be consumed for monogastric animals, like poultry and aqua, we do not find application of this high protein in these two applications where the maximum feed is being consumed, and we ultimately depend on other particularly soya, which has become very expensive. At least in India now, it has almost cost 100 this year, 100 rupees a kg. So this cotton seed and cotton protein augurs very well. Like if we have a technology in our company where we are able to remove the gossypol through a Chinese technology. So if such kind of technology can be offered, or technological innovation can be done in US, where how this gossypol can be extracted, and then this product can be very well used for these poultry and aqua applications. Let me apprise the group that already US FDA has approved using this cotton for a very high for human consumption as well. So if this gossypol issue is taken care, I think we can even find human application for this cotton seed. So it's a very high potential product.
Okay, fantastic. I think Smita ji, you had some thoughts to share on the overall this thing. So can you please try move back and share what you think, please?
Technical textiles is now the sunshine industry of India at the moment.
Right.
So there are a lot of inputs by the government of India to channelize it and have a growth potential.
Great.
So that is one thing, but there are a few things like we are that India can look from the US is like smart textiles.
Okay.
That's a new entrant where India would like to have the technology inputs.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a major thing. Then again, ballistic fabrics, which we are making in India, but somewhere we still need a lot of technology there. So these are the technology inputs that India would like to have from the US. And whereas we as Indians can give to the US is our, there are companies from the US which source small quantities. So they look for a they look for a supplier who can handle their lower MOQs, maybe. Not in volumes, but they require more in terms of, I say, more in diversity in terms of a product. So those are things that India can fulfill. Service quality, of course, goes without saying. Pricing goes without saying. And the other thing, what is happening is US is buying from us, but in an indirect way. Sometimes we supply to Europe, and then from Europe it goes to the US. So these things are happening. So if we could have a direct link somewhere.
I think IACC is ideally placed for this. We can be the bridge to connect. What goes across is, of course, you people have to finally do this thing. So moving on, there is actually a question already from panelist itself, and I'll direct it to Dr. Talukdar because you are the legend in technology over here. So what technology does the panel recommend Indians should invest in to meet US demand?
I think India, it all depends upon how much you are going to invest.
Yeah.
Okay, it all depends. Now, for example, if you have got money, then there's India lacking always, making, always small scale. Okay. There's a large scale integrated project is required. From where we can make from chips to the final product under one roof.
Okay.
And have, maybe 5,000 looms under one roof, and having, equivalent number of warping machines as well as the coating machines, processing machines, and then final product.
Right.
This is definitely going to improve the Indian cost of production will definitely come down.
Okay. Anything each of you would like to add before we move to the questions from the audience, if any? Talukdarji, your views, you would like to share how, or the question that I asked the other panel, where do you find the bottleneck? Where is the bottleneck?
You see,
apart from Smitaji, whatever point she...
Already, it has been mentioned earlier that we lack in competitiveness. We are not competitive at all. Then, we require patience to develop and customer.
Patience, yeah.
As well as, that takes time, maybe years. And that patience is required, which we don't have. We want immediate return.
Right.
Then another very important thing is not sticking to the delivery schedule. And one thing, very important, you only sell the fabrics. Afterwards, that service is very important for sale. That plays a very, very important role, especially in the case of technical textiles.
Right. Prashantji, sorry for you to wind up, add to this in about 30 seconds.
Oh, means I think the obstruction is basically that Indian government should open up more research happening in the seed part, because cotton being a very major product, not only for the textile chain, but also for the pharma sector. More R&D should happen, more trials should happen, more research and more communication and should be delegated or dispersed to the farmers, so that best output can be taken, most yield can be taken, best of the seeds can be utilized, and technologies like this where you are able to get products, more value-added products out of cotton seed or cotton can be made.
Right. Smitaji,
I'd like to add one more point.
Yeah, please.
India, there's lack of interaction between the manufacturers and the institutes.
Okay. Yeah, major point.
Very important.
Yeah. Smitaji, because you are from the as we call the small and medium sector and entrepreneur in your own right, what would be your advice to the MSME sector wanting to enter into special textile and specifically in related trade to USA?
Upgradation of technology, that is the first part. I mean, you have to be technologically very sound and in today's times to give the kind of products that the US is looking for.
Right.
Second is, of course, your one-to-one interaction with your customer, which is very, very important. Like I heard somebody coming for their honeymoon to India, but besides the fact, I mean, the customer requires a lot of feedback from you before and after your delivery. So that has to be, and your consistency to supply constantly the same product over and over again. So these technical textiles are not like one-time sales. They happen over a period of time. The same product goes for a number of years. So then you got to stick to that that product line all along, irrespective of whatever diversifications or changes might be happening at your end.
Right.
I agree with Smitaji. Consistency in quality is the most important.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes, doctor.
I agree with that. The basics, this thing.
Yeah, the basics.
Yeah, Mr. Satya, do we have any questions, or I can hand it over to Mr. Harit?
We have just one more question, if you can take one or two, because we don't have time. What is the future of Indo-US trade, especially in textile, and what do we do? How do we go forward in terms of providing joint ventures and developing eco-friendly textiles?
So if I may come in, it's a very broad question, and I think it's the entire forum, this thing, and I am not sure this is a specifically technical question related to this panel. So we'll maybe move it and we can answer it to them separately. Thank you so very much, Mr. Harit. Please.
Thank you, each of the panelists, for a clear, actionable points, and all the four panels, how we can serve the US and why the US should buy from India. Thank you also for all the panelists for being available for follow-up advice needed by the viewers and when their questions arrive at the Textile Forum at iaccindia.com. May I please welcome Mr. Bora for the vote of thanks and closing remarks. See you all tomorrow, day 2 of our 3-day webinar of towards our journey for $100 billion bilateral collaborative trade in textiles. The agenda is on our website, iaccindia.com, the Textile Forum website. Thank you. Mr. Bora.
Thank you, Mr. Harit Mehta. It is indeed my proud privilege and honor to offer vote of thanks to today's program. We have really had wonderful discussions on topics ranging from fabric business, garment business, specialty yarn, and special textile for bilateral trade. I thank one and all who have contributed in some way or other to today's event to make this event as a great success. On behalf of IACC Textile Forum and all the members of IACC, I thank all the participants who have joined us today for the event. I'm sure the insights shared by all the speakers must have helped them, and that would be very useful to them in time to come. I'm also thankful to all learned speakers who have shared their profound knowledge on the subject of their areas, and I would like to express my special and sincere gratitude to some of the eminent people who have made this event a great success. First of all, my heartfelt gratitude to Mr. Suresh Kotak, Chief Mentor, the IACC Textile Forum, for initiating this program, which is aligned with the interest and objectives of the Indo-American Chamber of Commerce. Thank you very much, sir. I'm also thankful to Mr. Harish Mehta, Chairman, IACC Textile Forum, and Mr. Sarad Tandon, Advisor, IACC Textile Forum, for your unwavering support, handholding, and constant guidance to organize this program right from concept to completion. We are indeed thankful to you, Mr. Mehta and Mr. Tandon. I would also like to express our thanks to all our associate partner, ASSOCHAM and PhD Chamber of Commerce, and to our sponsors, silver partner Satluj Textile and Industry Limited. Thank you, Mr. Ugdeep Singh, and entire Nestra team for supporting this event. I am also thankful to Wellspun India Limited, Mr. Cherian Thomas, for your kind support. We have two corporate contributors to this event, Mr. Kalrent Limited, Mr. Subhas Bhargava, thank you very much for your support, and Indo-Count Industry Limited, thank you, Mr. K.K. Lalpuria, for believing in us and extending your support. IACC is also thankful to media partners who have promoted this event very well and made many people aware of this program. Thank you, the Yarn Bazaar. Thank you, Mr. Pratik Dadia. Textile Excellence. I must especially thank Mrs. Reena Mittal for your support. Textile Value Chain. Thank you, Ms. Jigna Shah. And many thanks to Mr. Govind Sharma for Textile Mirror. Besides all these, there are a few persons who deserve recognition by name, and that is the entire team of IACC. I would especially like to thank Mr. J.B. Somaji, Mr. Kamal Vora, Mr. Satyanarayan Rath, Vishnu Latish, Sagar Kadam, Trupti Pawar, Jeet Jani, and Ms. Raki Sikka for their valuable inputs and support to make this program a success. I request all the participants, please make it convenient to attend second day of this webinar, which we will be starting at 6:30 p.m. tomorrow. And I also have a special announcement for all the participants that West India Council of Indo-American Chamber of Commerce would be organizing its 17th flagship event, that is 17th IS Awards, Indo-American Corporate Excellence Awards, on September 28th of this month. We will be communicating with you. We will be with you with more information, and we look forward to your presence in the award ceremony. So once again, thank you very much to all of you, and look forward to see you tomorrow. And I now formally close today's webinar. Thank you so much.
बहुत सरस થયું.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Suresh.
Vishnu, you may end the session now.
Just wait, Rakhi, for 2 minutes. I do not know.
Okay, sure, sir.
What will happen, we'll not be able to speak again